Over the past year, the population in Clark County is slowly dropping. Unemployment rates are at 13% and foreclosure rates are soaring. So while sales tax revenues are starting to creep up, it's clear the residents of Clark County still haven't fully recovered from the economic downturn. Streamlining and budget cuts have become common in a lot of local organizations. But what's the district doing to help out? Today we're taking a look at how the district is making sure our precious tax dollars are being spent wisely. Hi, I'm Carrie Ann Mokopathay, and welcome to another edition of the Flood Channel. The state's unemployment rate is a clear indicator. We need more jobs in Clark County, and that's one of the many things a public works project like a new flood control facility contribute to a community. For every $1 million spent on a construction project, about 12 people will be employed, and that's one of the many reasons why the district's construction program is a top priority.
A public works project is any project that is funded by the taxpayer and used to improve the quality of life in that community. This is often cited as a dam being one of them, a lighthouse to an airport, to the roadways, and ultimately, for our own example, the flood control system. Those are public works projects because it provides good to the overall community it serves. The use of public dollars to fund public good projects is certainly vital to any community. It's partially how this community was built with the Hoover Dam. And that continues today with flood control projects. Any public works projects puts millions of dollars in the economy, creates significant impacts on personal income as well as sales and use taxes that go back to refund government use. So all projects are important, but particularly when it involves public safety as well as creating economic activity, it is vital to the economy.
In a lot of ways, the district's construction program can be seen as its own economic stimulus package. We're investing money into the community, putting people to work, and in the end, the finished product offers long-lasting benefits.
When a district project is in design, we coordinate with other entities so that we can maximize public dollars. Is a trail feasible? Are other facilities feasible with NDOT? Is NDOT doing a project next to our detention basin so we can combine those construction projects so that it will minimize the impact to the public and disturbance to the community, and so that will actually make the project more efficient. We can construct parks in detention basins like these, and that will benefit the public, and we can use the benefit year-round. In Las Vegas, it's dry pretty much 3/4 of the year, so by using and providing amenities in detention basin, the public can use the detention basin year-round. With the district, our funding is specifically meant for flood control facilities only. Other agencies would have to provide funding in order to provide additional amenities in our detention basin. SNPLMA basically is a big part in providing funding for the amenities. They've provided funding for parks, like you've seen soccer fields in our detention basin, as well as baseball parks. Trails is a big one, and all of those provide a great benefit to the community instead of just sitting there for a majority of the year.
We are in the finishing stages, Lower Flamingo Detention Basin, and getting ready to pave the job site, landscape and irrigation in progress. Turf field going in, finishing the riprap, and closing out off sites.
We're in about the 14th month right now, and we've moved probably 500,000 cubic yards of dirt to get to this point where we're at now. The challenge we faced when we first started was just to clear and grub. There were some homeless people that you had to relocate.
It is a 75-acre job site, so trying to work on 70 acres with respect to dust control and the security is a challenge. The project has specific areas that is protected for native revegetation, so trying to keep it intact is a challenge.
Despite the challenges, Frias Park at the Lower Flamingo Detention Basin will be a huge benefit to the community. The total cost of the project is nearly $14 million. About $3 million of that is for the detention basin, the rest is for the park amenities. And while that sounds expensive, combining construction of the detention basin and construction of the park has been a real cost-saving maneuver.
The benefit is you are on the project once. All your costs to do construction is done simultaneously instead of putting it in as two different projects. So the client gets a benefit trying to build a park and a detention basin at the same time. That is substantial savings trying to do that, both schedule and cost-wise. And as a construction product, this is going to be substantially useful to the community. You know, the detention basin does what it does during flood and whatnot. But as a park, this is going to be used on a daily basis.
The Simmons Cary to Cheyenne project is a great example of combining flood control improvements with roadway improvements all under one contract. What that enables us to do is get the projects out quicker, just disrupt the traveling public one time, and in the process create not only a great flood control project, but 4 lanes of brand new asphalt between Cary and Cheyenne Avenue on Simmons. This results from a partnership of North Las Vegas, the Flood Control District, and the Regional Transportation Commission, all coming together to synchronize the schedule of the project together with the funding availability. So when all those 3 elements come together at one time, we're able to construct all the improvements at once. This is about a $7.5 million total project cost, $5 million of which is a Regional Flood Control District facility, which will outlet into a detention basin at the southwest corner of Cary and Simmons. So it's a nice combined use of 2 facilities, not only a street right-of-way, but also a flood control facility all in one space.
The district's partnership with other organizations is a great example of how we're working to build flood control facilities as efficiently as possible. And while we think we're doing a good job with tax dollars, every 2 years the district conducts a public survey to make sure residents agree.
It was a 28-question survey as well as some demographics, and we hit some key areas regarding flood awareness, the community's experience with flood control, their opinion of flood control, the effectiveness of communication of the dangers of flooding. And there were certainly some very key insights into those. The first thing we asked was, the same question that's been asked since 1999 was, are you aware of flooding in the valley? 49.5% of people said they were largely aware of weather-related dangers in the valley. Some of the key points we found out that awareness of flooding is still high, but we also understood that their awareness does draw down a bit because it doesn't hit them as often. They don't see people being rescued from cars. They don't see their street being flooded in the recent past. But when asked, are you still aware of the dangers of flooding? They did respond yes, that they were very much aware of the dangers of flooding. We did something a little different this time in the survey as well than was done in previous years. We asked them, certain questions like what comes to mind when you hear something. The first time we did this was what comes to your mind when you hear flash flooding. We created this word cloud. Basically, if you don't know what a word cloud means, but the larger the word, the more often that word was said. You'll notice that the most common responses were water, flood, danger, again, bad driving. And then we pointed out some kind of notable quotes that people said verbatim. When we asked them what comes to mind when they hear flash flooding, they could say Flamingo Wash, stranded vehicles, Imperial Palace, cars hydroplating. What was interesting is when we asked them to rate the flood control and their effectiveness, more than 9 out of 10 people gave it a fair or better response. Really, an approval rating that was just striking when asking, how a government body in any situation is doing, or how are they, effective in the community. And the fact that you got more than 9 out of 10 people giving you a positive response, it just shows to the efforts that you've made over the long term and the efforts you still had. That was also cited that they knew you had a long-term plan, that it wasn't actually completed yet, but they thought that your efforts thus far were nothing but positive.
According to a 2011 FEMA report, nationwide, only 68% of people are satisfied with their local officials' efforts to inform them about flood risk. Our more than 90% approval rating is an important indicator of the district's impact on the community. We'll be right back.
Whenever you come to water in a roadway, think. If you think you can get across, you can't. If you think driving fast will get you through it, it won't. If you think it's not that deep, it is. Whenever you come to water, think. Then think again.
A reminder from the Clark County Regional Flood Control District. Don't press your luck. Steer clear of floodwater.
I'm Agent Smith.
And I'm Agent Jones.
We're busting people who pollute Clark County.
Uh-oh.
Sir, your dog left a little gift for us.
He did?
Sir, pet waste can wash off lawns down storm drains untreated into Lake Mead.
Oh.
Sir, when Fido leaves a gift, do your duty. Scoop it and toss it.
Oh, okay.
Do something positive.
Don't trash Clark County. It's our home, too.
Thanks to efficient planning, the district always has projects waiting to start construction. Our master plan and 10-year program were developed to give the district and local entities a roadmap of what order and where facilities need to be built. That planning now helps to save taxpayers a lot of money later.
This is the Upper Flamingo Diversion Channel. It was built as part of a U.S. Army Corps of Engineer project. We teamed up, the Regional Flood Control District and the Corps teamed up with the Clark County Public Works to build several miles of channels and storm drains and detention basins and debris basins all in the southwest part of Clark County. That project's all complete now. This channel was completed in 2004. The Corps designed the Flamingo Diversion Channel to accept flows that come from the south of the channel. What they did at each of the major roadway crossings, they put in a culvert that connects to the channel and it curves up into those roadways, and then they just capped it and buried it with the anticipation of the county and the Regional Flood Control District to come back and dig it up and extend the storm drain to the south and collect flows and bring them into the channel.
Thanks to that careful planning, construction of a new facility this summer should smoothly connect to our overall flood control network.
This facility here is called the Flamingo Diversion South Buffalo Branch. It is a storm drain that will connect into that lateral that comes off of the Flamingo Diversion Channel. It'll extend south in Buffalo. It will be built in an existing roadway, so there will be traffic concerns, there will be lane restrictions. We will be building this facility through the intersection of Buffalo and Russell, which is a pretty busy intersection. So the community needs to bear in mind if you use this route in your commute that there could be some delays as you're going through here. I like to think of it as a little bit of pain for long-term gain in that you're putting up with the construction work for about 10 months, but the end result is you get a nice storm drain in here that's collecting flows that will help the community for years to come.
This channel is an important piece of a larger puzzle. Once complete, the Flamingo Diversion South Buffalo Branch will have a big impact on the area.
There's flows that come down and cross over Buffalo from the southwest to the northeast. And what this project is going to do is pick that flow up, either using drop inlets or open-ended culverts, and collect that flow into the storm drain and divert it essentially directly north in Buffalo up to this Flamingo Diversion Channel, where we designed this channel to accept that flow.
This is just one of several projects the district has ready to start construction. Right now, there are 10 projects under construction with a combined price tag of $93 million. Another 7 projects are about to start construction at a cost of $44 million. That's a grand total of 17 projects costing $137 million and creating more than 1,630 jobs.
One of the projects coming forward is the Oakey Meadows Phase 2B project, and for those of the community using Charleston in between Valley View and Decatur, you know there's a project ongoing there. There will be an extension of a lateral pipe that goes up Hinson from that project, and it starts at Charleston and goes south in Hinson about a quarter of a mile. That project is being built with a federal project. The city of Las Vegas got some grant money to build a Safe Routes to School project where they build sidewalks and what have you to give the kids a safe place to walk, and so we married our project up with that to build it all as one project.
Combining the construction of a flood control facility along with a park, walking trail, or road project is a great way to efficiently use taxpayer dollars. The North and South Environmental Enhancement Areas out at Floydland Park are an example of one of those collaborative efforts. That project just finished and is a great benefit to the community.
Historically, flow came through this area that we're standing right now and impacted the residents behind me. It went through those neighborhoods to the Silverstone Golf Course, where it was conveyed through the golf course and then released roughly at Whispering Sands and Rainbow. And once it was released at Whispering Sands and Rainbow, it just basically blanketed the entire northwest portion of this valley and eventually made its way to the intersection of Decatur and the Clark County 215 Beltway. The footprint of the two basins themselves cover roughly 175 acres. You'll notice that these basins don't look like our typical basins. Our typical basins are rectangular in shape. These basins were designed to fit in more with the environment.
They've got mild side slopes. They have an irregular shape to them.
To commemorate the completion of the North and South environmental enhancement areas, the City of Las Vegas held a ribbon-cutting ceremony. Residents were invited to come and check out the park amenities. Both the park and flood control facilities are enhancements the community will benefit from for years to come.
When you look at the vast land out here, to have something that this community can now enjoy forever, and this will help the community sustain itself for generations to come by controlling the floodwaters and also having the recreational out here.
We just didn't dig two great big detention basins. We really put our tax dollars to work and created two things. We created the detention basins, and we created a great pathway system and hiking system and biking system, and you can ride your horses out here system. We have several picnic areas that families can come out here and enjoy themselves. I come out here quite often in the mornings and see a lot of people using these trails.
While combining efforts and partnering with other organizations can complicate the construction of a facility, in the end the finished product makes it worth the extra effort. Residents are able to benefit from the flood control protection while also enjoying the new park features.
The main goal of the flood control district was to provide flood protection for the residents out here. When you combine projects with another agency or other funding sources, the taxpayer gets more bang for the buck. And working in combination with our detention basin, we were able to do it in one design effort and one mobilization for a contractor. If we can limit mobilizations and design efforts, we're going to save the taxpayers money.
We at the Regional Flood Control District are taking our taxpayer money, reinvesting that money back into the infrastructure needs of this valley. This is going to solve a lot of problems.
The detention basins will reduce the amount of flow that can impact the Northwest area by as much as 98%. We'll be right back.
I want to show you some pictures your parents probably wouldn't want you to see. Pictures of parents making big mistakes. Here's someone's dad doing something foolish. He's actually trying to drive through a flooded street. Here's another. And another. Every summer we get flash floods, and every summer the same thing happens. And hey, if all this water can do this to a car, imagine what it'd do to a kid. Look, don't be foolish. Flash floods kill. Tell your parents.
A reminder from the Clark County Regional Flood Control District.
Seriously, the ref botched that call. He ruined the game.
I know, baby.
Babe, it's my bonus check. You know what this means.
I do know what this means. Oh my God, new wardrobe. I can get
come on, you know. We can buy flood insurance!
Yes! In Clark County, floods can strike at any time, and not just in flood zones. Flooding can cost thousands of dollars in damage, destroying your home and its contents. Do you have flood insurance?
Don't press your luck. Steer clear of floodwater.
The district works to save money every way possible. And while our primary goal is to reduce the risk of flooding in Clark County, we work hard to keep the environment in mind when designing a facility. And sometimes protecting the environment and saving taxpayer dollars can go hand in hand.
NEPA, the National Environmental Policy Act, it's a federal law that was passed around 1970 with the explicit goal to enhance and protect the environment. It established a number of things, primarily the policy that environment is important and an important consideration, and also established a procedural regulation for federal agencies to complete an environmental impact statement or an environmental assessment before they do anything. Before they conduct any federal actions, they have to prepare this. They have to know what the impacts of their actions are going to be on the environment. There's a number of resources that we're required to look at in the analysis. Those include air quality, soils and geology, paleontology, surface water and groundwater, biological resources, plants and animals, cultural resources, things that are both historically and prehistorically important to the area. Visual resources, we're concerned about the viewshed of the area. Recreational opportunities. We want to make sure that we're not going through the middle of a park. That's an important amenity to the community. And at the same time, as part of our normal process, we see if there are recreational opportunities that can be implemented as part of the flood control facility. And then we also look at hazardous materials, illegal dump sites that could cause problems for us later on.
Assessing a project's impacts on the environment before design or construction begins is often a huge cost-saving maneuver. If a facility is found to have adverse impacts on the environment, a lot of money could be spent in redesign costs or construction delays. These assessments must determine whether the district must pay into a mitigation bank to offset the environmental impacts. This bank funds the restoration of wetlands in Clark County.
Wetlands are a particular form of waters of the U.S. There are 3 characteristics that have to be present or you don't have a wetlands. One is the hydrology. It has to be an area that is at least periodically wet. If you don't have water in a saturated condition, you can't have a wetland. The other is soils. You have to have particular types of soils, basically anaerobic soils, soils that turn blue or gray because they're saturated enough time that they're not getting oxygen. And the other is you have to have water-loving plants. So you have to have all 3 of those characteristics present or you don't have a wetlands. Wetlands are important, and the loss of them is a loss to the community. We mitigate by writing a check to an established in lieu fee program. There are 2 of those in the Clark County area. One is the Clark County in lieu fee program, where the Clark County Wetlands Park and the Nature Preserve is, and the other is the Eglinton Preserve in lieu fee program north of the Beltway around 5th Street. We save taxpayers money by writing the check. We don't have to devote additional resources for personnel to manage and maintain those areas. And it provides a great amenity to the community.
The Las Vegas Wash runs through the middle of the Clark County Wetlands Park. A lot of plants and animals are sustained by the flowing water. All the storm runoff in the valley drains to the Las Vegas Wash and onto Lake Mead. While most of the water in the wash is highly treated wastewater, stormwater runoff is not treated before it reaches the wash. That's why the district works to educate the public about stormwater quality. The more success we have in keeping the water as clean as possible, the less negative impacts the polluted water will have on wildlife at the Wetlands Park and our own drinking water.
There have been various studies that have been conducted that have reported that stormwater can lead to about 50% of the water quality problems within the U.S. And so stormwater quality is a big concern. So if we can look at cleaning our stormwater, then we can look at protecting our water bodies for more beneficial uses. MWH has the role of serving as the technical consultant for the Stormwater Quality Management Committee, and what we do is help the permittees to comply with the programs and track the progress throughout the permit year.
The permit authorizes the Las Vegas Valley communities to discharge to the Las Vegas Wash, and in return for that authorization, the communities have to do certain things that go toward protecting surface water quality. They have to do public outreach. They have to look for illegal connections and detect those and mitigate those. They have to do construction site programs, stormwater sampling, and then annual reporting on all the things that we do and show that we comply.
Lake Mead also serves as our drinking water supply. So if we're polluting our drinking water side, then we actually need to establish more water quality treatment when we're pulling that water from the lake. So it's very imperative that we actually minimize the amount of pollutants that are reaching Lake Mead.
The district is working with other local governments to establish programs that will help protect stormwater quality. The Environmental Protection Agency established a national approach for how best to improve water quality. But because Clark County is such a unique environment, the district and local entities have had to work to adapt that overall program to meet our specific needs.
That is the national approach to this. This is what EPA expects. And in many cases we find that that doesn't really work for us. We're the driest stormwater permittee in the nation. We have 13 stormy days per year, 4 inches of rain. And so we put together a very lengthy technical discussion and argument for the program that we developed. Our approach is a little bit different, and we're going to take advantage of our regional flood control system.
The regional detention basins within the valley are designed for the large runoff events, and quite often the smaller, more frequent storms will actually pass through those detention basins with very little removal of pollutants.
We're going to use our big detention basins, and we're going to put a small dam within the big dam, and that's going to slow down the sediments and the pollutants and allow them to drop out. Then our maintenance crews will come in and they'll pick up those sediments and dispose of them properly and keep them from flowing downstream into the environment. So the detention basin retrofits, the stuff that we're going to put in there, is going to stop trash and debris and sediments and a lot of the pollutants that attach to the sediment.
You'll see how much sediment you have immediately because there'll be stage gauges that will tell you how deep sediment has deposited. But as that is dug up and excavated, that could be tested. There's pollutants like phosphorus from fertilizer and oils from parking lots and everything. It'll be very evident and easily to identify once the water is receded and you're left with the sediments. In my opinion, it's going to be minimal increased costs because the detention basins have to be maintained after every significant event anyway. As you know, all of our water ends up in Lake Mead. It all becomes drinking water at the end of the day. So it's very important for us as residents, you know, in the desert. It's our primary resource, and so keeping it as clean as possible, even stormwater, is very important to the community.
The first water quality feature will be built in the Angel Park Detention Basin. Construction of the feature will be part of a $9 million project to increase the size of the basin. The whole purpose of the water quality feature will be to filter the water before it leaves the detention basin and continues through the valley to the Las Vegas Wash and Lake Mead. Well, that's going to do it for this edition of the Flood Channel. Log on to our website, regionalflood.org, for more information about flood safety and protecting the environment. You can also find us on Facebook. From all of us here at the Flood Channel, I'm Carrie Ann Mokopathai, and remember to always be flood safe.